love. And, I often say, I lost one brother in East Timor, but Gil now, who just left, that's about his 6th gig that he's done for us at the Jesuits here. And he's got to go back and manage his factory in Bayswater, but he came to do it. Having met people like that, who's now a great mate, I've been lucky. I've got back so much more than I've put in, so that's sort of what keeps me going. It's purely selfish reasons. Yeah.
How much risk is involved in it?
Not that much. We play music, and I love to play music, so getting up and doing that is not risky to me at all. Supporting Kylie is a bit risky, I suppose, but no, look, it's been. I'm sort of just, empowered by just the love of the people up there and what they've given back to me. So I don't think it's risky at all. In fact, we live in a very sort of safe society. Like today's Bastille Day. We should have a revolution of the heart. So if anyone wants to meet me out the front, let's march on Parliament House. To claim the Universal Day of Love. Everyone can have executives.
How will that look on the front page of the
That looks really good.
I'll just take Parliament House. I think that's good.
So, Elliot, tell us about what you think the place of courage is and how that's played out for you as a Just leader.
It's a good question. Thinking about that easier road, to be honest, I think I have taken the easier road because at a very early age I found what I was passionate about. And albeit leaving a comfortable position in the corporate world and having minimal income for the past 12 months, that still is an easy road for me because each day I know I wake up doing what I love. In need of an income, I've returned back to a corporate sector in a different role, but I still wake up based around knowing that I'm going to make a difference with be it a few emails or a meeting or coming here this morning and speaking to a wonderful delegation. So that to me is an easier road. Courage is not something I affiliate myself with, and I know a few of my football teammates might agree. But I have got some good friends, one in particular, Chris Boyd, who survived a similar story to Michael's friend at high school, who survived cancer and told he was never going to live past 3 months, and is now running an incredible youth network, Australian Youth Against Cancer, in Sydney. And that to me is something that's courageous. My journey was just a natural flow of events. I had a passion. I was able to push that first door down, which opened up to unlocking friends' passions, and that's been taken off into a vehicle that now stands to make a difference in community development projects around the world. So courageous, leaving a position, yeah, to a degree, but not compared to some other people I know. It's more just understanding where a difference can be made and pursuing that difference.
And how do you think, just on a daily basis, in a new company that you've gone to, your Just leadership will play out?
That's a good question. As long as I get my coffee at Kinfolk each morning, I guess that's playing out in the morning there. But like Michael alluded to, it's definitely embodied with the conversations I have with people at work and ensuring that whilst I'm representing an organisation outside of the 9-to-5 job, I now have people around me also feel they can make a difference, whether that's contributing to YGAP or to their own social purposes. Just knowing that there is a balance, and your work doesn't end at 5 p.m. or whenever time you do leave, that can make a hell of a lot of difference within that time frame. Sometimes I know I do take too much on, but I enjoy having that balance, and I encourage others to have that balance too, because I believe we can make a lot of a difference outside just our jobs, and including in our jobs too, of course. And I get a lot of support from the company because of my passion, so it's two-sided.
So today we're talking about finding our freedom and finding our fire, and we certainly don't want you to go away thinking, oh, aren't these three people terrific? What does it actually mean for us? And just in closing our conversation, I want to say to each of you, is there something you'd like to leave to encourage people here in their own social leadership? Elliot, you've gone out, you're reinventing the world in your own way, and you're doing it in a way that works for your generation. What have you got to say to people as your parting words, if this was the last time you ever got to talk to them, about making a difference in their lives?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, I'm a member of Y Generation, considering the organisation I represent is Y Generation Against Poverty. It is a very topical generation. I think Michael can agree with me there. I know the assertions that are placed on our generation of being quite self-interested, self-motivated, which I agree with to some extent. But I also see a lot of hope for our generation because we are reinventing the wheel and we are doing business differently, and the way we approach things is quite unique. And I think there's a lot of innovative ways that we can make a difference and continue to contribute. And I see that through social business. I know that's part of my passion and social enterprising. And I am truly optimistic that within, whilst the UK is really taking off the social enterprising, Australia will too. And in the next 5 to 10 to 15 years, we will see a plethora of different organisations sort of come to life and really start competing with for-profits. And I'm really excited by that future. And I think our generation will have a huge part to play in that. Being really creative, innovative with, of course, ensuring that you're employed, but having a social purpose built into your day-to-day life and ensuring that there is an avenue to express your passion outside of your job. So I encourage people to, like I did, and I'm sure everyone else has in different capacity, but to find that passion, be it social issues, environmental issues, community welfare, push that first door and just see what happens. And it need not start an organisation. It might be just identifying with an organisation that already exists and then connecting with that and ensuring that your skill sets are being used in a positive capacity.
And Paul, the revolution of the heart. What words of encouragement and challenge have you got to offer to people here?
To believe in themselves, to believe that they can actually make a difference, and that once they start getting involved with following that idea, that they'll get a lot back in return, and that if they're looking for something, come and see me, because there's lots of things I could suggest they do up in East Timor, but I'm sure you'd have some as well. But yeah, look, just the fact that everybody's turned up here for breakfast shows that you at least you're sort of caring about what's happening. I think it's fantastic that the NAB would have a breakfast like this where you get up and talk about stuff like this. This is quite extraordinary. I'll have to change my opinion of bankers. I believe. we
Change your bank as well.
Yeah.
we have broken up with that.
I did record someone's outside the Melbourne Stock Exchange and got arrested, but that's okay. But yeah, look, I think it's fantastic what NAB is doing, and you guys are on the path. You just maybe need to centre on what you actually want to do and go for it. And believe you me, the rewards will come. And I'm now working for the Jesuits here in Melbourne, who have set up this breakfast, and it's an absolutely fantastic organisation. I just the motto of the Jesuits is they don't give up on people. And at one stage I was really sick. I've had a liver transplant. I was sick, dying in the hospital, and a lot of people have given up on me. And I did meet this little mum from Timor, and she didn't give it up, never gave up on me. And get behind the Jesuits. They're a great organisation, and follow your hearts and your spirit. Isn't that right, John? Yeah. That's it.
Now, Michael, we gave you a very long introduction at the beginning about your work at the NAB, but in fact on the 31st of August you're moving on, aren't you, onto new things. Michael's been an unbelievable supporter of us, and he has absolutely walked his talk as we've wandered around the NAB doing crazy things like this over about 3 years. So he's been absolutely amazing, and it's wonderful to have you here. It's almost your swan song, isn't it?
I think it appears that there are going to be a few swan songs, so I'm going to be swanning around for the next 6 weeks, I think.
So you'll never get this particular audience again. What are your words of challenge and encouragement, or whatever you want to offer to each person here?
Well, perhaps just an observation, and I think Elliot's illustrated that there's a lot of muddled thinking, I think, around the Y generation. I appreciate not everyone here is the Y generation, but I'm a complete sceptic, Elliot, about this notion that they are sort of fundamentally different. I think there are basic human values, and I think what comes through in the Y generation is perhaps a much greater lack of tolerance about not having those values realised. And the Y generation, I think, is far more prepared to articulate a point of view, and if if they're not getting that point of view sort of realised wherever they may be, then they will move on to other things. So I being the eternal optimist that I am, I don't buy that, problems with the Y generation. In terms of sort of a thought for everyone here, I suppose I make a few observations. One is don't die wondering. So don't ever be in a position where you would look back and say, if only I'd done X or Y. Life in a sense is too short. Life and time is too valuable, I think, to ever do yourself that injustice of not exploring and pushing boundaries and seeing what you can achieve. And whether that's a particular passion, as Elliot's talked about, whether that's a particular values that you let something go by, that on reflection you would kick yourself for allowing that to happen, or whether it's an opportunity to go off and do something. Certainly my approach has been, I don't want to ever die wondering and say, wow, if only I'd done X. And that leads me on probably to the second point, which is to be honest with yourself. And so if you're in situations where it really is making you uncomfortable, then to me, all of us are leaders, and so you can show leadership in whatever environment you're in about being true, what's important to you, what principles you have. And the final point I'd make is do not underestimate the difference that each and every one of you can make in your daily life. So, yes, I'm in a fabulously fortunate position in the sense that I can mobilise things and make stuff happen. But every one of us can do that in our own way. And so, Paulie being up outside Parliament today is illustrating that as an individual you can mobilise and make things happen, and you can make things happen in a work environment, you can make things happen in a family environment, you can make them happen in a community environment. So do not underestimate the impact that your actions can have, and of course there is a risk there, and that risk is your actions could either be a force for good or they can be a force for bad. So be very conscious of that. And as Pamela said, maintain the rage.
Thank you. I once truthfully got an email from Michael and he said, let's maintain the rage. I threatened him that I might declare this publicly. But I think if the Deputy CEO of the NAB sends me an email saying, let's maintain the rage, we're on the threshold of a new world, aren't we? Let's give a round of applause to our speakers. Thank you to all of you. Now, for those of you who've come to our breakfast before, you will have heard that within the Jesuit tradition, reflection is an incredibly powerful and important concept. Jesuits are always reflecting, but they reflect for half an hour and then they go away and reflect on the reflection that they've done for half an hour together, and then they have another hour where they go and reflect on that reflection. But somehow it seems to, create pretty deep people and pretty wonderful people, people who are pretty centred in the core of themselves. What we're going to do today in honour of that is we're just going to take a couple of minutes now to just be quiet. It feels like a long time when you take a couple of minutes, but just to let settle anything that wants to settle inside of you from what you've heard before we move into an opportunity for you to talk around your tables. So just a couple of minutes of quiet from now and just see what catches your heart.